Aquí estamos otra vez. Tenemos uno de los finales.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall.
Los ordenadores han cambiado, por cierto. Ahora pone el final nunca es el final, nunca es el final, nunca es el final, nunca es el final. Vamos ahora a ir por las escaleras hacia abajo. Lo de los botoncitos y los números me cago. No me apetece ahora pensar ahí qué locura se les ha ocurrido ahí. Déjame abrir esa maldita puerta, hombre, la escoba. No, voy abajo a ver qué hay aquí. Me puedo agachar, ahora me entero que me puedo agachar. ¿Eso qué es? Ah. Hola, Loni. He escrito esto en el primer periodo, ¿eh? Y lo he dejado en tu taquilla. Voy de camino al segundo periodo. ¿Periodo se refiere a turno? No, turno de trabajo es shift. No lo sé. Esto es todo lo que los chicos guays están haciendo. La vida decidida. Escríbeme de vuelta. También tengo una idea para algo que dibujar. 2 gatos en una moto, que es la parte de ahí abajo. Y ahora el otro responde: ¡Ey, sí, es una gran idea! Lo que los chicos guays están haciendo es mandarse páginas Viper en sus Vipers. Vipers es un busca de hace 1000 millones de años. Tú eres más guay que ellos porque, adivina qué, no puedes poner una villa. Ah, no puedes poner una abeja. No puedes poner una abeja en una avispa. En una. No sé, una cosa soy yo que sé. Déjeme en paz, señor. El garaje, no vamos de aquí.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley.
Maybe,
he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Están repitiendo, ya te digo.
He said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Estamos en una simulación.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
Porque hemos nacido en esta simulación.
Quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently,
Estamos yendo
and
recto
he
todo el rato,
invited himself to
realmente.
wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin,
Nos
the press of
despertamos.
the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want.
No, hombre, no.
I
Quiero
want
saber la
my
verdad.
apartment and my wife.
¿Pero tiene
and
mujer
my
o está
job.
siempre en el trabajo?
All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Chan, chan. ¿Que se está convenciendo a sí mismo de que no está deprimido? ¿O qué?
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my
Ahora ya no
voice?
pasamos por el garaje.
Who
Ah, sí.
am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
De Mariela Parabol.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work.
Ah, ¿nos
But on this
hemos
particular day,
desmayado
her
o
walk
tirado
was
por el
interrupted
edificio?
by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to
No,
himself,
estamos locos.
and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And
Ese es el
although
coche
she
que había en el
would
garaje, el
soon
de
turn
abajo
to
a la
go
de
call for
izquierda.
an ambulance, for just
Le
a
tapa mi
few
cámara.
brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real
Chan,
and
chan.
what isn't.
Nadie lo
It
sabe.
was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time
Ella
for
tampoco
this,
tiene control
so
de
it
su
was
vida.
only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
¿Que nos pega ahí un colocón de drogas y estamos ahí flipando o qué ha pasado? Chan, chan, chan.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great.
Vale, la
He
parte
thought
de
to
abajo
himself.
entonces ya la hemos
This is
hecho porque
what
por
I
abajo
wanted
no
all
habían
along.
más
I
elecciones,
got
¿no?
what I wanted. When Stanley came to a set of two open
Vamos a ir
doors,
por la derecha
he
ahora.
entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Quizá.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all. Just to spend
Vale la
eager
pena.
to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
¿Seguro? Bueno.
Stanley was so bad at following
¿Somos
directions,
enanos o
it's
esto es muy
incredible he
alto?
wasn't fired years ago.
Precaución, no mienta. Si usted está mintiendo ahora mismo, por favor, pare. Está guay. Muy filosófico. No salte de la plataforma de cargamento mientras esté en movimiento. Puede causar la muerte. Penalización, $1000. 5000 si saltas.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform.
A mí nadie me dice que no salte de la plataforma.
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Me he caído sin querer, sinceramente. Me tropecé.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Si nos quedamos quietos,
when Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
A ver, vamos a ir por donde hemos ido antes, pero sin tirarnos al vacío. ¿Qué salte dices? No quería saltar. Me he asomado un poquito y me asomé demasiado. Me asomé un poquito, pero ese poquito fue demasiado. Ah, ¿que hace falta una tarjeta? ¿Podremos encontrar una tarjeta y entrar ahí dentro? Por ahí ya no. Chan, chan. ¡Oye! Espérate, que he encontrado ahí el pasaje secreto. Ahí que pone. ¿Esa es Juana de Arco? Que llevó al ejército francés hasta la victoria bajo las órdenes de una voz en la cabeza que le decía que tenía que conquistar Francia. ¿Y qué pone? Alguien me sigue robando el no sé qué. No lo sé. ¿Y aquí qué hay? ¿Qué pone aquí? Es como para el dibujito. ¡Ayuda, ayuda! La camiseta a rayas salvaje está desgarrando mi cuerpo. Bueno, el salvaje de la camiseta de rayas me está arrancando el brazo. Cuidado con el árbitro del dolor. Estoy confundido. ¿Qué ha pasado?
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far.
La cinta son cintas de cassette. Narración del, o sea, diálogo del narrador.
That it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun far off the beaten path.
¿Tiramos para adelante?
You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording. It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Era solo un easter egg para que vieras ahí. Estoy pensando, es el camino secreto de la victoria y del final buenísimo. El bueno no, el final buenísimo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop
pero ese
by the
sitio
employee
no era fácil de pillar, de
just to
encontrar.
admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Todavía no. Aquí no tenemos la tarjetita esa que necesitamos.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
hay ninguna tarjetita. Salgo y se me cierra la puerta y me quedo yo dentro. ¡Ah! Oye, pues el sitio ese de ahí estaba curioso. No puedo llegar a ningún otro sitio. Pero mira, hemos llegado a un sitio molón, ¿eh? A ver, ahora no vamos a morir.
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting? What? Really?
Hostia.
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero
Otro camino
consideration
secreto.
for others? Are you that convinced that I want
Precaución,
something
peligros por
bad to
todos
happen
lados.
to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it.
Me quiere
Let me
enseñar algo
prove
bello.
that I'm on your side.
Bello.
Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Al azul.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here.
Placeholders.
I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed.
Dice, no me ha dado tiempo a acabar esta zona, o sea que el narrador es el creador. Pequeño detalle importante.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest.
Antes estábamos allá y veíamos esto. 10 de 10.
You see, I knew I was
y antes estamos allá.
Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul.
In my soul.
You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one.
A ver qué ha creado ahora para nosotros. Leaderboard. ¿Aquí es la gente que se lo ha pasado? ¿En 2 segundos te puedes pasar el juego? El 21% de los jugadores ha saltado la secuencia de la intro. Este eres tú 7 horas. Yo no llevo 7 horas en este juego. Me dice que voy el último. No tienes amigos. Uy, ahora esto porque estoy en este de madera. Eso antes no era así, ¿no?
Now, would you say that
no, venir por el otro lado.
helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of life. I think the art world will
Ofréceme un motivo por el que tenga que importarme ese
bebé. The message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Fuck you, baby.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies?
Se ha vuelto semi-transparente por alguna razón.
Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Voy a poner un juego de otra persona, se supone. Oh!
Aha! Fascinating.
Este es el Firewatch.
What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
¿Cómo?
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man, spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes.
Es la misma, o sea, es la misma foto. Ha cogido tal cual esta parte del Firewatch. Clorox.
And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
¿Te imaginas que está el juego entero? ¿Te imaginas que está el juego entero del Firewatch aquí, chaval? ¿Qué es esto?
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game.
Open world.
God, quickly block it off.
Ah!
Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
No me quites el mundo abierto.
That thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it.
A este no le gustan los mundos abiertos, por lo que veo.
Okay,
Jones
I'm going
Lake.
to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
A ver qué nos pone ahora. Te está poniendo ahora jueguecitos. Ponme aquí, yo qué sé, el GTA 6, Rocket League.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly
El sistema del césped no es el mismo, aquí lo he hecho con sprites.
Big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see.
¿Qué va a pasar aquí ahora?
There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Espérate, que ahora tengo que llegar hasta allá. Bueno, vamos rápido. Al azul. Espérate, que podemos jugar y todo. Es jugable. Online, mundo abierto.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on?
Sí.
Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one
no soy
generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely... Hold on. What are you doing?
Un momento, ¿qué haces? Yo no se metía por un agujero. Beta alfa test.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. You still have so much. Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. You still have so much. Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. You still have so much. Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. You still have so much. Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. You still have so much. Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. You still have so mu
Le ganamos, chicos. ¡Ah! ¿Esto qué juego se supone que es? No sé, me recuerda algo tipo Half-Life 1. Parece un mapa del Day of the Defeat. ¿Qué es esto? La luz. Esto es del Half-Life 1. ¿No son los pasillos del Half-Life 1 o algo así? ¿O del 2? ¿Alguna fase? No lo sé, no lo sé. ¿Y ahora aquí qué? Vale. ¿De qué sirve llegar hasta ahí si ahí no hace?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Will be here soon. Very soon.
Todo esto al final, ¿para qué? ¿Para qué es todo el camino este que he llegado aquí y me está diciendo, me está contando su vida? ¿Qué me está contando? ¿Qué me estás contando? Me parece correcto.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
Nuevo contenido.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
¿No se cierra esa puerta? No, no puedo ir por ahí. What?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers.
Me parecen algunas atracciones de Disneyland.
Critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Todo cartón.
Oh, well, this sounds
Parece el
delightful.
Passepartout.
I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far
Nos encierra aquí y nos deja en el sótano ya para toda la vida.
But I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
A ver qué viene ahora. Todo de pladur.
Is it broken? What's going on?
20 videitos de churrasco, muchas gracias. Fantástica, indeed.
Oh, there we go.
Vale, ya funciona.
All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
A ver, nuevo contenido. Vamos a ver que no lo va a enseñar nada.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay.
Seguro que será uno review que le hizo a
alguien. Give me the
alguien.
content, Stanley.
El círculo de saltar.
The jump circle.
¿A quién nos deja saltar? A ver al final qué pasa, no va a pasar nada, ya verás. O antes de llegar a cero se acabará por lo que sea. Ya no me quedan saltos. Maldita sea, gasté todos mis saltos. Senflin, no te flipes, solo te hemos programado 30 saltos. Nuevo contenido. Ahora puedes saltar 30 veces en ese círculo.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait.
Bueno, no sé de los juegos que el contenido es simplemente cosas repetitivas.
I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Gracias por disfrutar del nuevo contenido.
It? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable.
Les voy a cancelar en Twitter.
I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about.
¿A qué zona nos habíamos quedado ahora por llegar?
Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
¿Qué dices, amigo? ¿Para qué preguntas si lo vas a hacer igualmente? Un momento. Esto ha cambiado ahora. Es una foto de cómo era antes. Pero ya no.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Espérate, que siempre cuando dicen eso tiene que haber algo por aquí.
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
Espérate, por ahí volvemos al mismo sitio de antes. Bueno, no, espere, señor.
Oh, never mind. You're not a dork.
Ah, porque el tío cambia ahí la conversación. No puedo hacer nada. Lo del sonido de teclado creo que es algo que se ha rayado. No es normal que si clicas en la nada suene a teclado.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers
Dark and Darker?
It. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Estoy buscando ahí cualquier esquinita en la que escabullirme. Te queda no paso. Vale. Uy, cómo mola, ¿qué dices?
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want.
The memory zone.
Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Cómo mola el sitio. Parece un sueño.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone
O sea, en
remind you of
2013
how
Stanley
wonderful
Parable?
Stanley
Pero es...
Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Revista Time 2-10. ¿Por qué? Stanley Parable. Aparece ahí la caja del Office. Ganó el premio de juego independiente 2014. Ha puesto una pegatina de Stanley Parable. 8 y 13, claro, es verdad. Ah, no. Iba a decir, lleva la hora de mi juego. No son las 8 son las 7:31 aquí. O sea que no. ¿De qué sirve poner la hora de tu ordenador cuando empiezas la partida si luego no la utiliza para nada? Pues para alguna otra cosa que todavía no hemos visto. Billetito. Demonstration, había una demo por ahí. Estos son logros del juego. Eso es el final que hemos visto antes. Porque esto está guay, pero aunque haya sol, está todo como medio nublado. El sol no acaba de dar la sensación de bonitud que debería. Bonitud. Sígame para más palabras.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes,
buena crítica, 10 de 10. Recomendaría.
So many games that aspire to be more than games end up
no me interesa,
less than
señor.
any form of art.
Déjame salir.
Stanley Parable strives
no quiero
and
ver
then
sus críticas.
succeeds to be every game ever created. Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Parece un jardín zen raro. Mantenimiento. ¿No puedo entrar? Fire. ¿No hay forma de entrar aquí? ¿Esto qué es? Conociendo tu ciudad. Dibujada hace 1000 años. Persona del año. Ah, estos son los dos únicos personajes que hay en todo el juego. La chica que te mira cuando estás ahí tirado. Y nosotros. Curioso. Esto es el desarrollo del juego. Buenísimo. Literalmente cualquier cosa.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com.
¿De GameSpot?
The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game
Texturas de alfombra.
It didn't need anything
Listas para tu proyecto de videojuego.
New content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Cosas del Source SDK para hacer videojuegos. Ay, mira, se ha abierto esto, pero ahí no... la habitación seria. Por ahí no podemos pasar. ¿Para que lo abren ahí? ¿Para que veas que no hay nada? ¿O por ahí saldremos luego?
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it
¿Se nos habrá abierto ahora lo de aquí
again.
abajo? Ah, sí.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory.
Un momento, ¿cómo has entrado en la zona esta? Esto no lo recordaba yo. ¡Oh! ¡Uy, oh! Madre mía.
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam.
Colección de reviews de Steam. Las buenas y las malas.
I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
No lo recomiendo. Honestamente, no me molestaría en jugar este juego al 100%.
The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Mira, no puedo entrar aquí. ¡Tormenta! Me gusta. ¿Y se nos lo pone? Se hace repetitivo y aburrido. Hombre, quitando la fase esa donde tiene que hacerlo de los números y no sé qué y la cuenta atrás que al final me explotaba, que ahí digo, ¡ah, mierda! Pero lo demás...
You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure, like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening.
Yo no sé qué es verdad, el narrador hay veces que podría cortar un poquito. Narrador? ¿Me estáis escuchando?
Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Botón de saltar. Saltarse las cosas del narrador. ¿Funcionará luego para todo el resto del juego? Algo nos han dejado ahí la escalera de mantenimiento. Malos los detallitos, está todo en plan de como si hubieran tenido que construirlo y tal.
And here it is. Go ahead. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what cooking knife...
Que me pregunta, ¿de qué va el juego? Le decís, búscalo en Google.
I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back.
Han pasado 14 años.
I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
Una semana.
Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time
Se ha muerto la planta.
and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down?
Ha pasado más de un año, se supone, desde la última vez que hablamos con el narrador.
To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of mist.
3 millones de años después y sale ahí ya el mundo ahí post-apocalíptico. Se ha muerto, ya está, se murió de viejo el narrador. Vale, la alarma esta de humo se ha quedado sin batería.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed.
Quejándose. Oh, el narrador es el creador del juego. ¿Se supone? A ver cuánto tiempo se supone que va a pasar ahora. Never the end, is 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 never the end. Empiezan a haber goteras aquí. Is never the end, 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 is never. ¿Ahora nos vamos a inundar aquí o qué? No, las goteras están peor que antes las goteras, ¿eh? Esto se nos lo perdemos, ¿eh? Esto se nos va. Esto se nos va. Efectivamente. Se acumuló el agua y se derrumbó. Ay, más de mantenimiento. Esta parte me gusta mucho. Que va pasando el tiempo. Esta parte está guay. ¡Oh! Oye, cómo mola. Visualmente se ve espectacular esto. RTX, ¿no? Baked Shadows. ¡Oh! Y la vida. Aquí para imitar lo que es el efecto del ray tracing, que sería que la luz al rebotar en lo verde hace que se vea verde alrededor. Eso lo han hecho simplemente con un emisor de luz verde. La verdad es que está guay esta parte de aquí. Queda cuco. Hasta que... ¿Esos son dinosaurios? ¿Cuántos millones de años se supone que han pasado? ¿Dinosaurios o brujas? Hostia, esto ha volcado, chaval. Ha mochado. Hasta la escalera se cayó. ¡No, la escalera no! ¿Lo podemos dar otra vez? La idea es que lo pudieras dar otra vez y pasar otra vez ahí otro... ¡Ah! ¡No! ¡Lo habéis destruido todo! Claro, se supone que estamos en una especie de simulación, pero era de un mundo... ¿Era virtual o era un mundo? Estábamos en un decorado en un mundo que se suponía que era real. Survival. Ahora es un survival aquí en el desierto. ¡Ah! Buena captura de todo negro. Y ahora nos alegramos de estar aquí otra vez.
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly.
Al parecer hemos hecho un pedido de no sé cuántas mil cajas de cartón. Está todo como súper viejo aquí, ¿no? Bueno, ahí sigue intentando la instalación del Windows 95 que no acaba nunca, pero está todo como desgastadísimo, ultra viejuno, o es cosa mía. O es como estaba así siempre. New content.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
¿Algo más nuevo que lo de antes? No sé, vamos a ver. Claro, y de la otra parte, yo me he dejado cosas por la otra parte todavía, ¿no? ¿O qué? No sé, es que esto ya ha cambiado tanto que lo de antes ya no me interesa. New content. Ahora ya quiero aquí las cositas, las sorpresitas.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the
Nos anuncia por primera vez
the Stanley Parable 2.
Stanley Parable 2.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
2 impresoras a la vez. Que es que ahora todo va con 2. Por cierto, esta pantalla sí que es mucho más moderna. ¿Te están mezclando cosas raras de diferentes años? Prueba la secuela. Nueva y sabrosona. Prueba mi secuela.
But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation.
Claro, se supone que ahora ya estamos en el futuro.
Franchising potential.
Bueno, el futuro que es el presente de ahora. ¿El presente de ahora que es el futuro de antes? ¿O el pasado del futuro? ¿Cómo la? ¿Oficina moderna? Ideas para la secuela. Stanley puede ahora lanzar hachas. En Nueva York. Jetpack. Bueno. Yo lo veo. Esta parte hasta tiene RTX, que dices mucho mejor. Esta parte hasta se ve mucho mejor que la otra. ¿Cómo se nota que aquí en el 2 han mejorado los gráficos con respecto al Deluxe? ¿Cómo hacemos el 2?
It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Nuevas cosas para el juego. Tiene un autobús aquí. Nuevo contenido. Dos. Madre mía, no escatiman en
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Prueba algunas de las cosas nuevas del juego. Vamos de izquierda a derecha. Escucha tu nombre en el juego, que era Vicio One More Time. Ok.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game.
Va a decir nuestro nombre.
Isn't that wonderful?
A ver, ¿qué dice?
Jim. Sorry,
Jim.
I should have clarified. Right now,
de momento solo dice
Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is.
Pero claro, la versión final funcionará bien.
Let's have you role play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named
Imagínate
Jim.
que tú eres Jim y clícala otra vez.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim. Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name.
Stanley Jim, no de Jim Parable.
And this time, let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim, developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim, rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups as Jim, and finally dying a slow death at an old age, surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Cual.
If all right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Madre mía, ¿hace falta un techo de 50 metros de altura para esto? Disfruta las cosas nuevas. Un epílogo sería divertido.
Yes, it will go at the end of the well, we'll figure that out later.
As mundial de la configuración. Agujero infinito, logro gratis. Logro gratis, démelo. Es una trampa. Tira de la palanca, recibe tu nuevo logro y ya está, simplemente funciona.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test?
La última vez que entré en un garaje así de oscuro y dieron una palanca acabó mal.
I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken.
Está bien. De momento no funciona, pero funcionará.
But I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Seguro que si le doy 40 veces al final se abre. Logro desbloqueado. Eres un pesado de los cojones. Maldita sea, me quedo sin logro. Tiene aquí en el garaje del infierno. A ver, ¿qué más cositas tiene?
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Por favor, no hagas screenshots.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along.
¿Qué ha pasado?
Get Well Someday it is.
Había elegido el otro, pero bueno, gracias.